technical difficulties in around the YouTube and around me pushing the buttons in the correct order. But I am looking very much forward to communicating with Merlin. It's been a long day for me coming here. I've been in the countryside, and now I'm back in the capital, Copenhagen. And I wanted to thank, there's a lot of people who've been so kind to donate this this past time. So Natalie and Neva and Carla and Kevin and Veritas and Salish and Laurie and Sophia and Ashen, thank you so much for your generosity, every one of you. It's much appreciated. And well, I've been feeling a little jittery today, and I don't know if it's kind of in anticipation of this energy coming forward. I've channeled Merlin before in some private sessions, but I haven't worked that much with him, and I kind of sense that his energy is a little particular. So I'm very much looking forward to it. And thank you so much for being here, all of you, and hope you enjoy. And let me know if there's technical difficulties, but let's hope that the leprechauns will leave the techniques alone for now. So enjoy, you guys, and see you on the other side. Yes, hello, Earthlings. As you are now, so I was once, and as I am now, so you will be. That is, I come to you as an ascended master, collected in that point of human clarity in the future, in a different dimension, where those of us who hail from the past, we are already gathered and inviting you to join us in this bright palace of numinous wisdom and knowledge. I am the wizard Merlin, and I am happy to join you this day. I entitle this transmission Magical Mixtures, at the mid-quarter, I might add, because notice now you are in this intermediary period between different festivities. You have moved into the darkness, and yet it has not turned around into light, as it will in the coming solstice. You are, in that sense, gearing into a different stage of being, a period of gestation, even hibernation. But what kind of mixtures do you want to brew in this period? That is, your body is an alchemical vessel, and the things that you put into it, that is thoughts, energies, substances, foodstuffs, whatever you may interact with, even the clothes you drape yourself in, the air you take in, or the breaths you breathe and the smells that you smell. These are all things that affect you, and together they make a brew. It is the brew of reality. It is the brew of experience, of situation, of phenomenon. It is that thing that is always there and yet avoids all description. And so the way you approach this magical thing, the pearl, the all, the wonder that lies in every existence and every moment of experience, but is so often occluded by different obscuring factors. The way that you approach this is that you brew different aspects of yourself into a type of new situation. That is, you can mirror that totality of you that lies beyond all experience, that pure radiant vibration of joy, by constructing different mirrors for it to reflect itself in. And you are in a place where you have become a type of builder of your alchemical vessel. You are in a place where you have learned that many processes, they flow through you, and then they change you, and then you change the world around you. But can you begin to do this consciously? Can you begin to take the elements of your experience and with effort and with concentration, put them into the vessel of your lived experience with the fuel of your choice, and there brew it into something that will be transformative, that will change you as you progress through these months of hibernation, of transformative change. So there is many options for you to pick from in your experience. And if you don't see that, that is because you are not paying enough attention to the subtle qualities of reality around you. So approach this with a zest for the experiment, with a joy for seeing things take shape that haven't been before. And if you do this, you are guaranteed to have a fun time in the laboratory. Therefore, I, Merlin the Wizard, I am happy to be with you this evening. I bring you the love of the collective of ascended humanity from which I hail, and I offer you my wisdom to interact with your queries and questions this day. Blessings to you, human beings.
Hey, Merlin, this is Kevin. I'm happy to be here and help you with the question today.
I'm very happy that you are here, Kevin. I feel in very good hands with your energy, holding the reins and accompanying me. Thank you.
Great. So the first question comes from Tham. They ask, now that we've seen crypto emerge in heavenly over the last few months, will spirituality merge through these crypto platforms?
Yes, this is a very interesting question. See, from our perspective, we don't necessarily separate these two things as opposites. That is, crypto is a type of spiritual growth. That is, it's something that was conceived in the abstract realms and then began taking shape in the physical realms. And so we could say what you are seeing is actually slowing down or a condensation, a lowering of vibration of an idea into material reality. And how does crypto become material reality? Well, it does by affecting actual production. That is, if someone is given the incentive to do anything, to bring forward anything, to exchange anything by this currency, then you have all of a sudden created a type of karmic loop, we could say. And this is a way where you integrate these types of abstract realities into physical reality. The same thing happened with your money a while back, and now it's the most natural thing for you. So natural that so many forget that they aren't necessarily real in the sense that potatoes or cucumbers are real, but they are still very, very real in the sense that they inform human action, and perhaps to a higher degree than potatoes and cucumbers do regularly. And therefore, notice this spiritualization. Well, what it offers, and this is the spiritual, we could say, opportunity in crypto, it offers a different platform of validation. I mean this literally. We could also call it appreciation. So the fact that there is a type of medium of exchange that isn't necessarily jacked into other coherent infrastructures, that is national banks and other places who issue currency, they have an interest in maintaining an entire system. But having this different mode of production, and therefore offering people a different venue of exchanging value in that very highly developed sense that you know from currency, but without, we could say, buying into literally the rest of the system, is offering you, let's say, spirituality. And here I define spirituality as the ability or the opportunity to redefine oneself in every waking moment. That is, well, so that you die and you are born anew in every moment. And here we can say the mere fact that crypto is a different type of medium of exchange is offering this opportunity to you. Because, well, what happens when spirit interacts with the physical world is also that there is this type of lag, as you know from your own lives. And so often you feel that you become trapped in the remnants of structures that once served other people who brought them forward as creations, and then they were put in place and now they became restrictive on you. And so the fact that there are some of these collective spaces where you can move in and renew and rethink yourself is very helpful from the spiritual point of view. And that is how I will answer that question. I thank you for it. It is most illuminating for us to see the experiments humans are undertaking at this interesting shift in time.
Great, thank you for that answer. So Laura would like to come on and ask a question.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. My greetings and love to you, Merlin.
Our love to you, dear Laura. Reflected back to you. How are you this day?
I'm happy. Thank you for asking. How about yourself?
Yes, I'm quite happy. I'm in a very playful mood. I am engaged in experimentation with wonderful human energies. And so I am learning much about what it means to be a spirit communicating with humans in this format myself. Thank you.
Well, I have a question from my son. I was talking to him last night and let him know that we would be having an opportunity to speak with you and see what if he wanted to ask anything. And he had an idea that he had been thinking about, and he explained the background of it, and I'm not capable of repeating it. So maybe you can see it in the energetic field. I don't know. But the
Yes.
gist of the question is, are humans capable of manipulating large-scale probabilities, enabling us to make use of infinite improbability to create discernible effects? And can hallucinogens help facilitate this?
Yes, it's a very, very interesting question. And I do sense the very complex and we could say inspired notions that flow into this idea. Because, well, putting it differently, also to make it available to our other friends here, what he is asking, put in other terms, is also whether or not human beings can use their ability to discern reality to manipulate forces that are, well, greater than this discernible reality, and thereby we could say manifest a higher degree of inspired consciousness, or this almost transhuman urge that you find in yourself and that you often also connect to the psychedelic experience, this need for you to become a different type of species who ingrain that content, that inspired everflow of holistic knowledge that you experience in those states. And so I would say, yes, what's to stop you? Well, that is what you are discovering, is that your idea of, we could say, hallucinogens or psychedelics, the idea of this concentrated state where consciousness becomes manifest and visible to itself in its operations. Well, this is actually very, very akin to the phenomenon you call synchronicity. That is, synchronicity is simply also these superstructures of your reality that become apparent in this type of immediate way. And so approaching this, notice, well, what happens is you can use probability, but probability often goes with a high degree of intuition. That is, there is an element of inspiration flowing back into these apprehensions. And so the weird thing that we are going to instruct him to focus on with this is to actually, well, put his faith in mathematics. That is, well, have a naive assumption that there is this type of universal, the improbable force that's moving in a type of intuitive or precognitive way to inform him in the ideas, the formulas, the numbers, the apprehensions coming forward to him. So there's really something to explore here, because he's building a lot of bridges. And so the more he will allow himself to connect these spaces, because he's already there, and we just see such a very, very interesting trajectory for this young man who is often accompanied by, well, different sages from that school I emerged from. So we hope this helps him, and we bless him in his quest. So play around with the probabilities and expect the improbable to happen. That's a good instruction.
I appreciate it so much. Thank you.
You too. Blessings and love to you, our friend, and to all of you, dear humans.
Great. So Mark would like to come on and ask a question.
Yes.
Greetings, Merlin.
Greetings, our friend.
Merlin's such a famous name. Everyone knows of you, I think, out there in the world. I have a question. I'm working on some healing modalities, and there are two of my past lives sort of together working on this in a strange way to me. One was the mad doctor scientist in Atlantis who did some horrendous things with animals and hybrids. And the good guy who was the druid healer, who was quite powerful for what he could do, from my understanding. And now I'm here in the middle between the two of them trying to put this modality together. So I'd just like to get you to speak upon what I'm doing and how these influences are affecting me now.
Yes. If I may put forward the combined image, it is the mad healer. So notice this idea that if you actually allow this type of willingness to experiment from the past Atlantean life that you connect to, if you allow this to inform you in your joy in playing around with the world, then you won't feel so apprehensive, because notice that, well, there is partially the aspect that very few beings actually experience themselves as doing wrong. So very few human beings, though there are some, well, consciously do horrendous stuff, there's usually some kind of story going along with it, why it's justified that they're behaving in this way. And so, well, notice that this person, this mad scientist, he was someone who was very able to also go beyond the limits of what is allowed and what is expected. And that is something that you can use positively. And then combining it with the druid healer, combining it with this idea that, well, there's also a respect for life, for the organic, for what's growing and what needs nurture, that's feeding into your experience. And if you can sort of have, well, this type of, we could say, willingness to break borders and boundaries, combining that with a tenderness for life, a care for what is living, then you're very good off. You're in a very fortunate position.
Thank you very much.
You are very welcome. And our love and blessings to you in this. We sense there is something merging, and that it will be a joy for you to unwrap.
Okay, so Sophia wrote in, what do I need to know about the mysterious attempted flower delivery to my office and the mysterious random magazine delivery to my home this week.
Yes. Notice this is interesting because this is also a quality of mind that it likes to see connections. And so we will just bring forward the aspect that perhaps these things were, well, not connected at all, but the connection manifests itself in the synchronicity. So, well, what we could say is that the magazine delivery was somehow, this is interesting because we do sense that there's some kind of mistake connected to that magazine delivery, that it was something that wasn't really intended for you. And so the flowers, they were certainly intended for you. And well, try to take this as an omen that love is trying to find you. What we sense is that this actually might be an admirer. This, you may have inferred this from, well, the obvious circumstances that's, well, it's a part of wooing, giving people flowers, I understand. And so, but what we sense is that this person may be around 55 is the year that we're getting, and maybe a little shy in their approaches, but also given to grand gestures. And we don't sense that you need to, well, feel hassled. We do sense that if this is something that you do not want to invite in, you can, for instance, put the flowers in your wastebasket. But we do sense that actually you are also kind of enjoying the flowers. That is, they are actually, the flowers themselves are pleasant for you to have. And so do not feel threatened and do not feel obligated, but do feel that, well, you have sort of opened this small limitation within yourself, that you may feel that there is some kind of romance that might occur in a distant future of sorts. And therefore, you might feel that, well, you might see these small manifestations happening as, well, indicators that this is something that you are entertaining or questioning yourself how you feel about. So enjoy the flowers, and may flowers also grow on your path.
Great, thank you for that. So another written question is from Onsen. They ask, this year has been full of emotional release and purging for me. I feel an internal shift, although the changes have yet to reflect externally. I received many positive predictions, but it seems that the opposite has actually manifested. Should I expect some positive changes soon, or will the next several months consist of even more purging? And sorry, my dogs are making some noise in the background there.
Oh, I love all animals as I love human beings. They also are children of nature, no? So to answer Essen's question, and we are sorry, we are sort of speaking on behalf of the entities that have been speaking through this vessel. So here we're just saying that we know we kind of come off as assholes to human beings because we keep promising you positives, and then you go, well, this wasn't quite what I expected, and I was hoping something about perhaps kittens and roses and chocolate or something, and then we are of course playing around with you, but it's just, to us it's very difficult to ascertain this idea of that not being a positive, because purging means that you're getting rid of stuff that doesn't suit you anymore. And that means that these openings are happening. But what we are experiencing, reading your energy, is that you are in that very painful place. That is, a type of shift is taking place within you, where your consciousness has accelerated itself to a much higher degree of awareness than your life has been able to keep up with. And this is sort of you could use the term perilous. That is, it's a great trial along your way of your tenacity in this, because you feel that your outside world is not honoring the person that you're also becoming. But have trust that there's also a type of order. Again, we speak of this synchronistic or actually psychedelic manifestation of your higher mind that's taking place in your life around you. Because here you're also building skills and you are gaining some knowledge, and you are also perhaps gaining some credentials that might practically serve you in ways that you cannot anticipate. So, well, yes, expect more purging, but do try to find solace in places that you enjoy. So know that this process is increasing, and try to focus on the very vital energies that are alive within you, because you may also have felt this year that they come as a curse, this type of willingness to do all kinds of things and discover all kinds of things, and wanting to connect, and then feeling almost also stuck in life. And this is a very, very helpful place to be from our grander perspective, because it's absolutely necessary that you run up against what's unwanted for you, so you have a clear perspective or place to navigate from when you go discovering. So notice what has been growing in you is, so well, you could term it, well, cynicism to some degree, but it's also a world weariness, but it's also a type of experience. It's kind of, well, having life deal you some punches and then not being too afraid that it might hand out some more, because, well, you're still breathing, right? And you actually tackle issues as they come along. So really try to take stock of these improvements you've made, and try to be proud of yourself, because your guides are proud of yourself. We are very proud of the role you're playing. And we, of course, have no fear for where you're going, because we also see, well, when such an energetic mismatch is happening and you build your frequency to this level, it has to attract something else into your life, because nature abhors a vacuum. And it is kind of this vacuum that you find yourself in. So notice that you're being purged by, it's actually bright energies that are pushing things out. And that will sort of create this, well, open sky where birds can drift in and teach you things. So that's a little wink wink to also expect things to happen, but to deal with situations where you are. Blessings to you in this, friend.
Great, thank you for that. Salish would like to come on and ask a question.
Yes, hello, greeting, Merlins.
Greetings, Salish, our friend. Good to be with you.
Likewise, I'm very sorry I missed the beginning of this. No doubt I'll go back and listen to it. What it is, in a couple of weeks' time, I'm off to Tintagel Castle in North Cornwall. And there's a Merlin's cave there, and off to Glastonbury and also to Stonehenge. Now, I would like to know if you have any suggestions for me when I do go and visit these places.
Yes. And notice again the synchronicity. You will notice later that the castle will appear again. But what you may experience is that, well, once you go to Tintagel Castle, there try to pick up something and bring it home. Actually, try to pick up something in each of these places. And Stonehenge, it might be hard, but you could bring a little bit of the soil with you, and then pick a rock from the castle. And could you mention the third place again, our friend?
It will be Glastonbury.
Glastonbury, of course, yes. And we understand now why this is also clouded in a type of fog. See, around Glastonbury, there is a type of special energy vortex. It means that it's, when you actually enter into this space, your cells tend to age slightly faster, but also accumulate a higher degree of energy activation. So you may want to do this as a, we believe geographically this also makes sense, but want to do this as a type of last installment, because you might feel that there will be fatigue building in this place. But we were instructing you on soil from Stone Age, a rock from Tintagel, and then from Glastonbury. Try to find yourself a feather, and you may have to look a little while, and you may also have to buy it, but we know that there will be a type of feather that will appear. And so when you have this collection, you can actually, what you can do is you can use it to sacralize objects. So anything you place adjacent to these three objects overnight will sort of give you an influx of inspiration. And this influx of inspiration is very subtle, but it's something that you have already been growing. So for instance, simply the idea of going to magical sites is something that will really expand your, let's say, appetite for adventure. And this appetite for adventure, this is something that's really expensive for you, because speaking of that world weariness, as we were before, you may feel that you also have this quality as an old soul, but it's shifting into a new type of appreciation. So can you go to all these ancient places as with the eyes of a newfound babe? And then in Merlin's cave, I encourage you to whisper my name 3 times, and then go quiet for a moment and see what the answer is.
Okay, fantastic. And just one more thing regarding Glastonbury. The Glastonbury Abbey, which I believe was founded by Joseph of Jesus's uncle. Anything over there specific I need to observe?
Yes, it's a very, very ancient site. Well, what you might want to observe is to, well, hold on to your hats. And by hat, I mean that thing that shelters your head. Some of you may be wondering, what is the point of the wizard's cap? And it's not only to look cool, that of course is a side effect, but it's also to condense the energies around the skull. Because what's happening is that this place has this type of ripple in time effect. So you may feel that a lot of energies will want to attach to you, and you may want to retrace certain steps. So if you want to go down that, let's say, more missionary lineage, you can begin to look for the clues in this respect. That is, if you do sense there might be saints in the woods that also want to speak to you, but you can also go the way of the elves and the fauns and the satyrs, but all these natural beings that also reside in this place. So that is, you may really want to decide which energy trajectory do I want to go to, because Glastonbury is very much a place where a lot of different magic is unfolding itself side by side.
Thank you very much, indeed. I will take that to heart. Thanks.
And then enjoy your trip, because it will be very beautiful, and we will also be connecting. So I'm looking forward to that, Salish, my friend.
So am I. It's going to be absolutely freezing, but hey, who cares? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Merlin. So I would like to ask a question now.
Please do, dear Kevin, our friend.
Yes, and it has to deal with the topic of frequency wars. So when one connects with screens, technology such as computers, phones, and tablets, they can begin to entrain to an artificial resonance as opposed to the Schumann resonance. And I am the perspective that watching some TV for entertainment and playing some video games is perfectly fine. And some obviously need to be on their computers for work, but many take this beyond a healthy balance. Can you speak more on this, especially since this is somewhat new to our civilization of the last 20 years, and it is increasing quite rapidly?
This is a very helpful question, and I will allow the body I'm speaking through to have a sip of water. Yes. See, you are quite right in discerning what you lay out here. That is, naturally, there is a type of frequency disturbance to the magnetic field surrounding your electronic thingamajigs, contraptions, tools, aids, and playthings. They have these, well, a little adverse vibrations to the human resonance, as you so beautifully point to. That is, there is a natural energy resonance within a human being. And then this is, our apologies. Well, this is to some degree distorted by the natural surroundings. That is, there is a, we could say, by the mere circumstance that human beings grow up, live in an environment, ingest certain foodstuffs, breathe certain air, walk a certain ground, there is a type of, we could say, energetic limitation in that. And that's not necessarily a problem, because that's also a part of your specific experience. But where we could say the war part of the frequency war part comes in is when energies from your outside environment is surmounting your inner energetic integrity. That is, you have a universal vibration. You have a vibration connected to being human, and embedded within them, you also have a unique personal vibration. And that is sort of the thing that's that has selected to come into a certain life, and then that's trying to express itself through that framework and being conditioned by all those things. And so what happens is, this is actually the quest for the pearl of the rediscovery, because almost all of you lose yourself in the world to some capacity. That is, you are enticed and to some degree also forced into the circumstances that you live under. And that is the conditioning of family and of friends and of schooling and of work life and of all these societal factors. And you also experience this as a type of, we could say, violation of your truest core. So what does this have to do with these apparatus? That is, they're also an extension of that enmeshment, we could say. So in many ways, they are forcing the agendas or just ideas or perspective of other people into your energetic field. And they're doing it also with a frequency accompaniment that is the electric field around them, is also wearing your aura thin in a lot of ways. And that is why so many of you feel kind of fatigued and blasted through if you've, well, been in front of a screen for 8 hours, or you watched a full night of the television or something. Then you get this sense of fatigue. But it's what you're looking for, of course, is a balance. And so it's that sense where you feel you're using it for an escapist purpose. That is, you already feel bad, off kilter, and then you are sort of driving yourself off, even more off kilter. And that is the problem. It's not the problem when you feel like you've had a productive day and then you decide to spend the evening gaming either with yourself or your friends, or you decide to watch something that you actually feel is enriching to you, or you make the conscious decision to just unwind and ingest an evening's worth of crap television or whatever. But it's very much the consciousness that plays a factor. And that you experience that in your lives constantly, that things that can actually be very positive done in a conscious way can be very, very negative done in an unconscious way. So we could say that these electric apparatus, their vibration, their technology, what they're doing is in many ways that they are accelerating material energy, and by that the accompanying immaterial or coded or verbal energy in them too. So it's an acceleration process, and that brings you off the natural field. But if you would like us to give some more clear instructions on how you should do this practically, we are also happy to do it, because there are so many perspectives on this central issue.
Yes, I would like you to follow up on that. And then I also would like you to just let me know your perspective on my sons, Oscar and Xavier, because they love their tech, and I'm constantly doing a friendly tug of war with them to get them outside and to, get off of their screens. But they're a different generation, so they're wired differently, but that doesn't allow me just to let them be on it as much as they want. So if you could follow up on maybe some balancing techniques for the group as a whole, and then just finish with what you perceive Oscar and Xavier and their balance looks like.
Yes. It's a very interesting question, because it also brings forward my energy. You may sense that is of a quite druidic character. That is, I align very much with organic matter, with trees, forests, groves, the slow pace of life, and speaking to animals, all that good stuff. And that, of course, is in contrast to, let's say, the digital realities of immediate gratification, of no delay, and of being, in that sense, jacked into a type of hyper reality. But, well, so partially the way to deal with it is, well, the way the Lord dealt with it, that is, on the seventh day rest. It would be very helpful for you if you every 7 days have a day where you minimize your interaction with electronics, and you don't have to go cold turkey, but it's simply sort of consciously putting most of the day into activities or doings that, well, where you are separated from electronics. That's helpful. Then meditation is also a way where you can rapidly readjust your vibration. And this especially goes for adults who are trained in it, because you can sort of quickly know, okay, once you meditate, you know, okay, where do I feel centered? And what are all these emotions that are obscuring that center? And then putting them away. So if our advice is simply also for you to, well, put away your digital energy sources or information sources 1 hour before you sleep, and actually leave them out of reach, preferably in another room. But if that's not possible, then a place where physically you can't reach them, because this means that they will also, their energy field will not be able to affect your natural aura while you sleep. So you may wake up feeling more rested and less depleted. And so, speaking of Oscar and Xavier, the question here is, they can actually follow the same rules. And then what we remind their father is this difficult thing that it's so hard to imagine for people how the future will look like. And there will be a much higher degree of, we could say, cyborg reality, hybridization of technical and organic codes. And so what your sons are in many ways preparing for is also navigating some of these realities where they will sort of be in the physical world and jacked in electronically at the same time. And this seems very, very frightful to you, much as, well, the idea of the internet would probably seem very frightful to your great grandfather. Or so just notice that that there's also an allowance to this. And as long as you can sort of be a positive influence of also, and you are just by being a person who enjoys being in nature or being outside and those qualities, that is something that they pick up. And then that's just something that they will also rediscover and need to go into as they grow older themselves. But it's, as you may know, it's kids that age, they love sugar and video games. It's hard to change, and that's also all right. That's also a stage in their lives.
Thank you so much for that. That was very insightful. So next, and I apologize if I mispronounce his name, is Shyam Lal. He would like to come forward and ask a question.
Yeah, that was good enough. It's Shyam Lal. And greetings, Mats and Merlin.
Greetings to you, Shyam Lal. Hello, our friend.
Hello. I have a query. I thought I could get your inputs. Recently, after I made my career transition, or rather location transition from India to Denmark, I started obsessing with a friend of mine.
Yes.
She's already in a relationship, and I at least intellectually get that it is not the way to move forward.
Yes, are you with us?
I would like some clarity.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'd like to. Yeah. Any thoughts on this would be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. And we bless you in your transition. And of course, it's also, it comes as a surprise to the vessel that we are speaking to, that you find yourself in the same small geographical area that he does. And so we extend our blessings in this transition to you, because notice, well, partially what has happened to you is you have actually had a lot of your energy field shredded or ripped to pieces. And that is something that happens when you transition great geographical spaces in such a short time. So there's also just a part of you that's trying to energetically reintegrate, and it needs to do so while it's in energies that are foreign to it. So you might feel a little destabilized. And so what happens naturally when you destabilize like this is you go to stabilizing factors. And so what could in that sense be a more stabilizing factor than, well, having a woman that you already know is kind and a person that you like feeling that might be a type of anchor at something that might grow into a framework and something meaningful. So be patient around this. And it's good that you ask, because this also means that you just acknowledge that you have feelings around this, but also that this is perhaps not actually, well, the highest, greatest good that you desire this. And so try to take it as a positive encouragement, because what you have done is also that now all of a sudden you have the energy to think about, well, perhaps connecting to someone romantically and perhaps having that type of expansion. And that is actually very, very helpful, because of course you've also been worried about the great transition, and now the transition is made and there is a type of opening that then wants to be filled, and you get to do this in a positive, constructive way. And we can also say that there will be a lot of dark hours in the night where it's cold outside, where you can sort of play around with thinking about, well, who do you want to be? And you actually might want to, well, play around with, we sense this would be helpful for you. And don't take this as a type of pressure or something you have to rush into, but actually go on some dates or have something. And we can inform that Tinder is a huge way to meet people in this sort of culture. So there is actually sort of this opening where you get to play around with new realities. And that's always difficult to accept when you made a huge transition. And that's why you're also seeking this type of deeper emotional connection, and we could say solidity or grounding through your friend. So we hope that these are helpful perspectives, because we actually sense that you are in a very positive place expansion wise.
Thank you. I'll listen to this a few times and understand deeper.
And blessings to you in this. Love on your path. We can assure you of that.
So Tony writes in, Brother Merlin, my name is Tony, and like you, I live in Cornwall. Question, the comet you saw with the tail of the dragon, is this the same object heading towards Earth now? We call it Wormwood or Nibiru. If it is the same, can you confirm what it is actually, what it is called, and what is its purpose?
Yes. That is, these are two different objects. The comet I saw was the comet you know as Halley's Comet. And so this has very, very potent, powerful influences. That is, if you use this comet, it can sort of, it actually acts as a type of multidimensional gateway. So in the time that it appears in the sky, it sort of rips open the blocks within the ethers for human will to manifest itself. And that's why you also often see great shifts in wars connected to it. Then humans are afraid of comets because you have some bad experiences in your species about past civilizations going under from it. But that's all in what you know as prehistory, or you could say lost history almost. And then this planet X or Nibiru, this other object, well, this is a type of distant object at the end of the solar system. And it's home to some not too festive spirits seen from the human perspective. You know them as the Anunnaki sometimes. These sort of avian, reptilian hominid hybrids that have weird agendas, and they are barred from interacting with humankind. You've had your dealings with them, and other entities could explain to you better, but it's not been too festive. But they are barred from interacting from you this time. And that object, it won't be around until approximately I'm for some reason getting 172 years. And so this is sort of the time where you again will have to deal with the presence of this object in the inner solar system. And that will be exciting. But yes, that time, that worry, as it is sometimes said.
Great, thank you for that. So Carla writes in, go ahead, take a drink.
Thank you. Just leave it here. Yes.
Carla writes in, hi, I know this is common to you due being a native of Denmark, so this question is probably quite amusing. We have been able to catch a glimpse of the Aurora Borealis here this past month in the state of Washington and across the northern US. Folks are suddenly coming out en masse to see it and camping out half of the night to watch the sky. They have had to call police for traffic control at the popular lookouts. I have watched them on and off for decades and have never felt this level of interest. Why the sudden mass interest here? I assume social media is helping to spur the interest level. Are folks getting downloads from the solar flares and driven to watch them? How are we affected by them, if at all? Are the countries that experience them all the time way to the north affected by them a lot more, or is this just old news to them?
Yes, it's a beautiful question. And so, seeing as we are speaking both from and about this plot of land, it is very rare that the Aurora Borealis reaches this far down south, but usually then only northern Denmark, though it is perhaps as far as central Canada to the north. For some reason, it does appear quite strange to people that they would go as far down south as northern Washington. And so what you are experiencing is also manifestations of a polar shift that is upon you. So the magnetics of the earth are changing at this point, and this is affecting all of you powerfully. And so notice that some of these, and they are still, we could also say, regarded as very magical by the people who live under the Aurora Borealis. That is, they still consider them a type of deep experience, something that brings forward a certain quietude of the spirit. And so this quietude of the spirit, you can think of it as the voice of the ancestors. Another way to think of it is it's the voice of nature. That is, it's the voice of the Earth Mother imbued with all the spiritual forces of the cold north, these type of slow moving, reflective energies. And these stir a melancholia, we could say, within these peoples who are very much affected by it. There is a type of resignation within it. And this has to do again with this winter energy. So what people are experiencing, why they are flocking to northern Washington, well, you are right that social media plays a role in spreading this information, but it's also that people do feel, as you also deduce from it, a calling, a guiding to experience this, because there are codes embedded in these. And these codes are natural codes. That is, as I was also speaking in relation to electronics before, the code of the Aurora Borealis is in many ways something that activates, let's say, your basic human frequency. And so with this, you become more receptive to experiencing the more subtle instructions, we could say, advice flowing in from, well, partially being generated from your higher self, but also flowing in from your guides, for instance. And this is, well, in many ways what draws people to them. And we do understand that it can be a little annoying with all these tourists showing up, but at the same time do relish, we could say, the quiet community in the fact that these lights are speaking to them as well as you. So do listen in to the lights in the sky, because they sing in color.
Great, thank you for that. So we're going to move on to the YouTube, as there are quite a few questions here. So the first one comes from Curious Light Channeler. What kinds of things will we be able to do in the future with white magic that's making itself known to the earth?
Yes, it's a beautiful question. Well, you can manifest things with your mind, for instance. So how far we are in the future is, of course, a question, because at that point you will have moved another step up the density ladder. But what you are already becoming aware of is your ability to create and maintain energy grids. And so a way that this is, for instance, manifesting is the increased intention to create ecological zones that are energetically intact and that don't necessarily have any other purpose than existing. Then you could say, well, they're helping to conserve species, and they're acting as a wildlife refuge and all those things, but essentially they're serving no human purpose. And this is a type of white magic indeed, because it requires the intention to focus a type of organic process and then allow for that organic process to boundary itself in the physical. and to, we could say, even by having, for instance, a legal manifestation, also being able to keep people out by being designated that area. So notice, for instance, that it becomes more necessary for you as as we could say human expansion over the planet reaches its zenith, that you also begin to make these constructive intentions around what is left of the natural world. And they're also regrowing a lot of the natural world. So that's a way to do it. Well, other ways to do white magic is, for instance, through manifestation or spells, healing work. And many of you may actually be feeling that these, well, we were, for instance, speaking to our friend Kevin here about an island adventure that manifested very rapidly in his life as a positive surprise. And many of you may actually be experiencing this, that you don't have to think about things for very long before, well, poof, they seem to be there. This is a type of white magic. And the more you invest your intention in it, the better. So these are things, invocations, all the good stuff, only amplified, is in many ways what you can expect of fifth dimensional ascension. And then astral projection will also become far more common in the coming years.
Excellent, thank you for that. So Yokin 1969-3600 asks, hello Merlin, can you tell us about your time on Earth and the legends around you? And do you have a magical spell technique that we could all use?
Yes, these are helpful questions. Well, on my time on Earth, you could say, and this is to understand the channeling, that there are many, many aspects that inform this energy that is being translated right now. That is, many have added to my time on Earth. And so much of what is being channeled here is people's reception of me. That is the thing that's called an egregore. So all the people who have worked with my energy, who have wanted with their intent to come into me, who have followed my adventures, who have seen me guide the young King Arthur. And is she Morgana? Well, our friend here was asking whether or not that was the name of the witch I also managed to have some skirmishes with. So this is sort of the idea that there are so many things you can add on to a character. But if you speak to my physical life, that the person I was originally, well, I walked the Cornish lands and those lands of the southwest reaches of those fair isles, that fair Isle of Britannia, that beautiful place which I love. I'm much connected to that energy. I saw the Romans leave and I saw different barbarians enter our shores, and yet I tended to the sacred hallow spaces in the woods. I would heal the refugees, the people who took refuge, who sought with their wounds my healing, or who sought from despair my wisdom. I would receive them in my abode in the woods. There I would nurture them for a time. I would send them on their way, forbidding them to speak of what they have received. And yet I knew that word would travel and people would seek me out. And then at some point, I became a hostage to these barbarians. And one of these barbarians, he had a son. And I grew to hold great import in that court of those invaders. And I grew to undertake the teaching and instruction of that son, that bright boy who grew to build a kingdom. And that was my joy, to teach him some of my secrets. And the spell I taught him, the spell that I will teach you now, is the invocation of the dagger. So you can use a kitchen knife if you don't have any ritual daggers lying about. Other than that, you take the dagger, in this case, you hold it up towards the sky, having the grip between your palms, like so, and there you go. May the heavens and the ethers concentrate in this point. You take the dagger and you let it rotate in your hands till it's pointed down the ground. May this dagger absorb the life force of the Great Mother, and may it hold the heat of fire in its blade. Then you take this dagger, you rotate it again. Now you bring it, it is pointed towards your chest, and you slowly move it forward until the tip is pointing your chest, and you say, may this blade never hurt me. May its energy protect me. May I wield it against those who wish to harm me. May I protect those who cannot protect themselves. This is a very helpful way of clearing your intent and feeling that you also become empowered.
That was a great spell. Thank you for sharing that, and a great answer.
Thank you. We thank you for the
So
question as well.
Yes, I think Tony needs to mute. Anyhow, next question comes from Greenplant01. Hello, Merlin. What should I do with the fake porn revenge construction around me? I'm just ignoring it and it's getting worse. Thank you.
Yes. Blessings to you on your predicament, friend. See, the moderator and the vessel translating us was discussing beforehand where this question was coming from or whether they dared have it. And that, of course, speaks to your predicament, because it's a vulnerable side of human experience, sexuality. It's even more vulnerable when it somehow becomes something where you feel you are treated as an object and where people can hurt you in some way or another. But what you are experiencing here is a test of your mettle, we could say. That is, know partially that if you remove your attention from this, it actually ceases to affect you. Then you may have an unpleasant sensation that this is still going on. But what you may experience is that, well, nothing will come of it. And so you are feeling the intensity ramp up because you are at a place where this comes as a type of manifestation of some unpleasantness, some patterns, and perhaps we sense actually, well, a lack of boundaries around you. We don't mean this as a criticism, but we say this is a manifestation that clearly instructs you to begin to really maintain a far greater degree of integrity of where you place your attention, who you interact with, where you go, and what you do. And so the more you can do this, the quicker you will see that this will disappear from your life and it doesn't really bother you anymore. So we're sensing, try to map out for 3 weeks, the coming 3 weeks, what do you really want to do with your time? Ideally, if you weren't surrounded by problems, what would you be doing? And then try to do those things. We know you might slip up, you will have difficulties, but try to do those things and see the changes appear. That is our instruction to you, dear friend, and blessings to you in this predicament.
Excellent. Thank you for that. So Crystal B. Dawned asks, how important is imagination? Could you speak on it for a little for us? Thank you so much.
Thank you for that question. It is very important. See, imagination is the creative dimension of the fourth dimension. That is the layer of of time is interspersed with a force within human beings that rewrites it, that recodes it, that reconfigures it. And what you do that with is imagination. This is actually the way that you escape this crushing pace of time. Notice that you do so by actually going into those realms of pure creativity and vision and retrieving something from yourself to either nurse just as an idea or a fancy, or to actually bring forward, well, consciously as a type of creation or sharing with somebody, or even we could say subconsciously as a dream. But this is your true layer. So imagination is perhaps the quality within the human psyche that is the closest to the divine. That is, notice the way that you can bring forward hazy reflections and perhaps figures or something by imagining them. In the same way, the divine can bring forward everything that exists in its pure highest definition just by willing it to be. We hope this sheds some light on it. And please do use your imagination as much as you can whenever you feel called to, even sometimes when you don't, because it is such a wonderful companion to have, and it can always tell you a good story or offer you a helping hand.
Excellent, thank you. So Jennifer Cabral asks, can you speak of the intertwined lineages of the Essenes and the Druids? Are they still relevant and permeating our realms at this time? Are you part of such lineages?
Yes, this is beautiful. See, we were talking about also how Joseph founded that monastery in Glastonbury. And so there is some law here. Again, what came to pass was that we found strange bedfellows in these Christian monks when they came to the Isles. And so we began to grow this hybrid culture. But before that, there had already been people who had escaped from many of those wars, also some who had escaped from some of the later reprisals following the Jewish uprisings. But we are here in the 1st and the 2nd century of the Common Era. And there were people who escaped to the far-flung reaches of civilization, where they would still be protected from barbarians, yet they would be shielded by their great distance to the great civilizational centers from the persecutions of the empire. And these were the Essenes. They settled in different places, but you may find some of the most or strongest places, for instance, around Glastonbury. Other places is upwards towards the Lake Country, and also we believe what is perhaps called the Northern Hebrides, or these islands so often connected to the western coast and the Irish coast. And here this type of new creative culture emerged. Much was lost of the original Hebrew and Aramaic teachings, but instead what came to pass was this rich infusion of, we could say, spiritual technology, of word with the connection to the plants, the animals, the land, with talking to natural spirits. And this is in many ways an energy I embody. And so I am also a holy caretaker of these codes, that the speech of the woods and the song of the flowers. We hope this served you, and we are happy to elaborate more should it be necessary.
Well, since I'm here, and she's not going to type too quickly, yeah, I would like you to elaborate on speaking to nature and just basically going more into that and how nature can hear our tones.
Yes, and you said the magic word, dear Kevin, because exactly tones. And what you notice, this is it's often very apparent and intuitive to people when they speak to infants or dogs, for instance, that you automatically adjust your tone. And so often it doesn't really matter too much what you are saying, but the tone accompanying it is kind of the small melody you compose for that exact situation. And so you are often in a far more, let's say, immediate responsive state in the way you would, for instance, communicate with infants or pets than you are with other human beings, where you're sort of trying to gauge the cultural codes between you. And so notice that the woods, of course, have no cultural codes. So it's actually, the more you can sort of, yes, the plubber at them like at a baby, or speak that type of cute speak. And we're not necessarily saying baby speak, but that type where you feel I'm speaking in a way that the tree is making me feel like, because that's actually the way that you establish communication. It's sort of that you align with how the tree wants you to direct its intention towards you, and then you can hear what it says. And many trees have many stories to tell. Some of them are also just a little old and grumpy, and some of them are young and full of it. But many trees will also give you wisdom about, well, where you can find in the wood that they grow, where you can find certain plants that you're looking for instance. And it will often be helpful for you also to lay a hand on them and to feel their energy and to ingrain their energy into your field. This is essentially the same as what is happening when you're sitting around with your smartphone. It's just a very, very positive energy for you. And it's an energy because you stem from the organic world that aligns you with a very deep, pleasant vibration within you.
Thanks so much for that follow-up. And the next question comes from Signal Fields. It simply states frequency of gravity.
Yes.
Yes,
it's an interesting.
Was I unmuted? Did you get that?
Yes, frequency of gravity.
Great.
It's an interesting question, because notice that frequency is usually assigned to primarily auditory phenomena, that is, things you can hear. And gravity you experience primarily as a sensational phenomenon. That is, it's something that you actually feel all the time. And so the frequency would be around 17 hertz, so a very deep frequency. And so the fact is that if you were to play the frequency of 17 hertz and sit in that for an hour, gravity would begin to affect you in a far, far stronger way. That's not to say it will crush your bones, but you will really, really feel extremely weighed down. And try to experiment with this, because this is indeed, there are many frequencies within human beings that sort of take them out of that more earthly thing. And indeed, of course, you are physically sort of trying to escape to the heights simply by being the elongated beings that you are and that I were. And so if you play around with this, you may also begin to discover that gravity can actually have some very healing influences if you surrender to it. Have fun with this. Our blessings to you.
Excellent, thank you. So Jana D asks, How do I strengthen my intuition and communication with the unknown? Thank you thousandfold and be blessed.
Yes, blessings to you also, dear one. Well, what you do, our friend, is you use your imagination. So what there are so many ways to do it, and that is that you may feel that there are ways that would work better for you. And so I will lend and repeat that helpful phrase that you follow your excitement to the highest of your capacity at any given moment with no expectations of the outcomes. So it's simply this idea that you are actually moving there. Know that you are here asking this question. You are tuning into it. So what you can really do if you want techniques, helpful techniques, is draw. Sit down and draw things out. And if words come to you in that process, put them in the drawing as well. That's a very helpful way of doing it. You can also dictate. That is, you can actually use spontaneous talk, self-talk. If you get used to sitting down and rambling into a microphone, your smartphone, wherever, you will notice that there will be sort of instructions within this where you're trying to teach yourself things that your mind can't really grasp, but that will come out in that space. But you might have to talk about the neighbor's dog for 5 minutes or something before you come to this place. And then, well, laugh, jump, roll around, skip, all these kind of things that sort of bring you out of the stagnancy of your body. Do somersaults or windmills, whatever you feel like. Stand on your hands or your head, or lie in find a place in your house where that's weird. For instance, go lie in the hallway or something. These are actually all also techniques, and know what I'm pointing to is simply that if you sort of break routine habits, you immediately become connected to that more intuitive, deep knowing side of you, which is the vibration of you. That's sort of your true you, and the rest is manifestations of that true you that have, we could say, less reality to them, that are more conventional, more in a negotiation with the world. So the less you sort of carry out those patterns, the more you can then come into, well, what it is that's actually uniquely you. So have fun exploring with this offering.
So next is Swasi. She asks, why does a soul decide to practice black magic? I was a witch in one of my lifetimes.
Yes. Well, it's a good question. And the obvious answer, of course, is power. Well, what is power? It's the idea that you can maintain form. So notice that white magic always have the intent and works indeed with the technology of guiding energy, of allowing energy to have passageways where it can seek to have a helpful influence. Well, what power is as an intent instead is trying to force specific currents or specific productions or manifestations into the world. And this is a type of, it's also a very joyful process if you can sort of surrender to the surprise of it. But, well, what often happens is that, well, you've been, the thing that is also called trauma, which is you've been unpleasantly surprised by a lot of things, and therefore you would like to end the surprises and have control, and therefore you would like to have power, because power is sublime control. And that's something that's worth playing around with, of course, in the polarity of the all. Black magic is also needed in the aspect that it explores a different way of energy manifesting itself and working with itself. But seeing that you are also conscious beings, that are eternally traveling in these worlds, it has very negative karmic implications for you, because what it does is it sort of builds up these type of, we could say, vacuums. So where we were saying that you were sort of creating a flow with white magic, you're sort of creating a vacuum where you are banishing the light and then pouring in your enchant and manipulating energy into it. And that is a type of investment of spirit. An investment of spirit always has karmic ramifications. That is, it has to play out in the world then. And that's why it doesn't really serve you. And then, of course, it's also because there are kind of laws about hurting others and imposing your will around them and on them, and those are also some aspects. So we hope that illuminates your question, and then we bless the quest that you are on and see it as a part of your quest, because seeing that you have now explored black magic, now you can go explore other stuff that's perhaps even cooler.
Fantastic, thank you. So Kai Metatron asks, hello Merlin, I've been told that in my past I was an alchemist, magician, and this life ever since I was a child, I was insanely drawn to magic of any kind and always wanted to be a magician. How do I open to this again, being an alchemist, and can you guide me as a teacher?
Yes, I can. So a way you could do it is you can invoke me. And well, there have already been some offerings of invocations, but I will give you another one. And that one is to go make a wreath of leaves. And it would be best if these leaves are, well, laurel, or we are getting, that is definitely, we believe in it. It's this thing, and it's actually laurel that we are getting that would actually be helpful for you. And so if you begin to play around with making these magical wreaths, you can also play around with different types of plants, but it would be helpful in this case to make a laurel wreath and then put it on your head. Drape yourself in a type of loose clothing. Construct a circle around yourself. Either make it with rocks that you have positive associations with. You can also make it with salt. You can also use chalk, but some kind of demarcation and a type of bright energy in this would be helpful. Therefore, the white substance is suggested. And from this point, you then ask 3 times while holding your left hand to your heart and the right hand extended. Merlin, please come before me and share your instructions with me. Merlin, please come before me and share your instructions with me. Merlin, please come before me and share your instructions with me. You can also invoke other beings in this way, but I'm so eager to connect with you, dear friend. And so notice that you are already exploring this. So you relay to us that you have a strong interest in magic, and this stems from this alchemical lifetime. So in that time, and we are actually sensing, well, what we are getting is it's quite interesting, because we sense it's much in an Arab context. So the 1100s in Morocco, we're actually sensing that may be a time where you have been very engaged in some of this magical work, and where you experimented a lot with different matters and the spiritualization of these. And you might want to go the other route in this lifetime, though it is for you to explore. That is, you go the magic route. So you begin to work with angelic invocations, with these types of, say, magical instruments, with the names of deities you want to invoke, or again, the angels, and then bring objects into your space and use this to concentrate energy into it. So instead of separating energy out from the matter, then try to infuse the matter with energy. This is why you are in many ways still here on the planet, exploring this place down here, is because you would really like to see what happens when you charge enough magical energy into the material world. So we thank you for that progress as well. And I look forward to connecting to you in this, dear friend.
Thank you. So next is Seraphin Susan. She asked, "Hi Merlin, any guidance for my path forward in fulfilling my mission in this lifetime? Thank you."
Yes. Well, we believe this may have been put forward by others, but remember that your mission is always your mission should you choose to accept it, as we believe it maybe goes in a movie franchise. So the idea here is that you can't really go wrong in your mission, because existing is your mission. But then there are certain things that you have set out to do in this lifetime. And for you, we sense they have very much to do with a type of tender nurture as well. So you might really want to allow yourself a period where you really go into emoting strongly. And sometimes you may also want to do this on your own, because as you know from your human interactions, sometimes people who have very strong emotional reactions in your presence can be a little difficult to deal with. But you are just in a place where there is this type of sweetness that wants to come forward. And it also has to do with honey-stained tears is the image I'm getting. And this is sort of, also weeping on some of the grief. And then know that when you give yourself this gift, well, partially you are weeping for the world. Anyone who weeps is also restoring the energetic balance of the collective as a whole. But you are actually also, well, cultivating an ability of compassion, the way you allow other people to enter into this tender space. And this is much of what we could say, mission or your soul theme, that you are sort of eager to play out, that it is my sense that you are focused on. And blessings as you walk this path. Love to you all.
Excellent, thank you. And the next question comes from Pang Soke. "Hi Merlin, I would like some guidance. Any areas you see fit? Namaste."
Yes. I sense your thigh area is quite healthy and fit, for instance. And I'm, of course, playing with you here, friend, but only partially, because what I sense is that you actually have a lot of support in the way that you tread the ground. That is, your way of walking is something that you may actually turn your attention to, because this is sort of the foundation that is always present with you. And so we sense that you would perhaps like to go. We are getting the image of a climber or a mountain climber, for instance. And we sense that what you're very interested in is somehow transversing physical obstacles. This is the image that we're getting. And it sort of allow yourself to climb because your thighs are strong and connected to the ground. This is the wisdom being transmitted to you from, well, we sense it is your higher self, but who knows where this information comes from in the ethers. And so go climbing and enjoy and have a good time.
Thank you for that. So the next question comes from Ute Joan 03. "Hello, Merlin. A couple years ago, I dreamed about fairies and they give me a crystal dust in my dream and put it in my pocket. What is crystal dust and how will it be used? Is there any magic on it?
Yes, it is sure to be made illegal as soon as they find out what it does. We are, of course, kidding you here, but crystal dust is, in a sense, the effervescent magic. And no, this is very much the fairy realms. So what you may sense or what you know as I refer to as ethers, this sort of effervescent realm where you walk and you commune with spirits, and it's where you connect to these things. It's the Akashic records where things are written. But the fairies, they have sort of this ability to almost pluck out these small time crystals, you could say, things that sort of stir your fancy, and know what it's connected to is also kind of this distortion of the senses, but it's a dreamlike distortion. So what they're offering you is actually a more, let's say, a lifetime that's less regular. We mean it's less evenly paced, but it has far more potency and magic. So for each one of the specks of the fairy dust, you can pick it out, and it turns out it's a little crystal, it's a little rainbow prism that contains all the wonders of the universe within it. That was what they were loading your pockets with, and have a lot of fun playing around with that. You are very blessed to have these fairy friends come visit you.
Great, thank you. And the final YouTube question comes from Heather Houston. Hi, Mas and Lords Merlin. It is with great honor and reverence to connect with you. I am curious how to tap into my highest timeline in Avalon that will best assist me now. Thank you.
Yes. We are sensing that you actually might want to use some kind of frequency technology to work into this. We were sensing a frequency chamber. You embedded within this type of almost crystalline helmet. It's a little hard to describe for the mind that's translating my energy, but it is akin to a crown and one of those old style hairdresser things that you would put down and maybe make a perm or something, but it's that idea that you actually want to surround yourself with this very, very high radiant light. And this also manifests in a vibration. So what we sense is actually if you could record yourself performing, and you need to tone into it yourself, but we will use this body as an illustrative example. You will be able to produce a higher tone. It actually needs to be centered right around here, around the third eye. So if you bring forward that high-pitched tone that you might sense would intuitively emerge from this place, record it, and then you can use headphones to have it. And we sense this will generate this type of crystalline sphere around your head. And this will sort of comport you into it, because here there's a connection point to this Avalonian timeline where you are sort of already existing in a type of, it's not cryostatic sleep, but it's a type of light conservation that you find yourself in, this sort of suspended state. And this will begin to reactivate once you begin to play around with these high tones and visualize that crown. You might get a far better image of it than is being transmitted here, but it is coming forward to you. And blessings to you. Really, it's so very beautiful to read the energies of people here this evening, because it's also very clear that you have shifted, all of you, within the last couple of years from something that was far more dense. That doesn't mean you're out of the woods yet, though, that you'll ever be out of the wonderful woods where there's also lovely trees to talk to and things, but it does mean that you are at least in a clearing where you're not getting torn by brambles and just stumbling through the woods hoping to get out. You're actually slowing down and being able to enjoy more of it.
Excellent, thank you. So I'm going to ask a second question here, Merlin, and then I'm going to allow Laura and Salish to follow me. So the advice that was given me in the last live stream in accordance to the next 3 months was staying low to the ground. And I have already taken action steps to organize my business and the taxes, etc. And I am also excited to ski this winter, which I've only gone a few times. So when I heard the word stay low to the ground, and then I also wanted to head to the slopes, along with other accidents that's happened high in the mountains, I would just like to know if there's any insights you can give me, or if I need any warnings as I head to the snowy mountains this winter and actually next week.
Yes. Well, first off, we will say you will have a lot of fun connected to this. So that's just to put that in the forefront of your attention, because we can sense you're excited about it, and for good reason. Well, you might want to stay away from the most challenging hills. That is, there will be a point where you might feel, well, the day has progressed and you've already done some difficult stuff, and now you may want to see if you can just go through this hurdle and try to avoid getting into that space, because there we actually sense it will be good for you to hit the slopes and get some speed. So we're not discouraging you, but you actually might want to look into cross-country skiing as well, that there's something for you here that will sort of also help you to expand your pace, and notice that that's really keeping very, very close to the ground.
Great, thank you. So as long as I don't take too many risks, I can head to the slopes.
Exactly. And it's not, you can head to the slopes, and it's not that you need to be, well, too aware that you take risks, but it's more that if you notice what you've learned since the last accident, because here you may notice that there's a type of, well, sort of, let's say, careless giddiness that grows within you, and it's a very, very beautiful, playful quality. But of course, in environments where you can put yourself in physical danger, it's something to be a little well aware of. So that's just sometimes, if you feel like, oh, you're getting a little too excited, then just talk yourself away from the ledge and go have a cup of coffee or something for 20 minutes, and then ask yourself, do I still feel like hitting the big slope?
Excellent, thank you. So Laura will come next.
Hello again. So I have a question on personal alchemy. Kind of enjoying that was how you opened today. So I have been working on that. I put together a combination of herbs and vitamins and my water and mindful eating and meditation and all of these things to shift where my chemistry has been. And I know that cell membranes, their electrical output when they're healthy is about 70 millivolts. And when they're unhealthy, it's about 30 millivolts. And I wonder if you're able to look at my cells and tell me like where they're at in that from that framework.
Yes, with the framework you're giving me, I'm sensing that the answer would be 53 millivolts.
Okay. And are you able to see with my mitochondria, how they're feeling about things, and if they need it, if my mitochondria needs something in particular to support the ATP production.
Yes. Well,
I know that's a weird question.
no, it's a very good question. But what we were sensing was partially that there is a type of, and you may have experienced this in many, well, in many different manifestations, but there is a type of disparity between, well, your basic frequency as it is trying to regenerate you, and then sort of the, we could say, the temporal or the material lag. So that is, have confidence that there is this very bright, we could almost sense it like a, that's simply to give you an image because it's not a parasite, but like a positive parasite, like it's a frequency. If you were to think of a way a cancer operates, it's of course, it's something that just replicates itself and then separates itself from the vital functions of the organism. And this is sort of a frequency that's replicating itself and then connecting itself to all the vital functions of the organism. So there is this type of frequency present within you that's trying to attune you to it. And we actually sense that, well, tropical fruit, anything that might have high levels of vitamin C, and well, also other vitamins, but that is something that you might really want to give yourself. And it sort of has to do with this type of, we could say, almost freshness boost. What some of you may also want to use, for instance, minty or tea tree rubs, or it could be tiger balm, something to that effect. But that would be that it has that freshness to it, because it's that sort of that fresh quality you're going for, that sort of enlivening, because that's very akin to the vibration that you're moving into. So the more you can, and you may also want to do some supplements. And here we sense that, for instance, well, vitamin C would be helpful in particular. And then we are not sure if it's called, well, cadmium, we are sensing might also be something that you want to. And then is it called, it's called selene in Danish. We're not quite sure if it's that in English too. Selenium, yes.
Yeah, I thank you. And it's funny with the mint, because I have peppermint oil and I use it every day. And so, and then just one follow-up with that from a vibrational level, is the wisdom qigong sound healing support that vibration that you're talking about that's replicating in my cells?
It does, because it has that same, and notice that we're talking about magical mixtures today. So this idea that it's very much the same frequency, but expressing itself in different sensory modalities. So it's that same brightness you're looking forward to. You might also want to have a singing bowl, and you might, if you have any glasses that are suited for it in your life, you might actually also want to, you know, those things where you fill up glasses with water and then run your finger around. Yes, so that frequency is also a way you can attune to it. And then we also sense, actually, and be kind to yourself in this, but you might actually want to do like cold lake swimming or something to that effect. Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm not far from the river. Thank you very much.
You are very welcome, and enjoy the dip in the river, and also the other things that might be a little sweeter on the senses. Oh, it's nice when you get out, at least.
Yes, greetings, Merlin. Oh, okay. It's Salish, yeah?
Yes, greetings, Salish. Good to be with you.
I, I won't keep you on too long because Matt's been going on for nearly 2 hours now. Basically, I've been told a number of times that this is my first incarnation on Earth. And few people have mentioned that, no, I've had few other incarnations on Earth. I'd just like to know if this is my first incarnation on Earth or not.
Well, you raise a good question. And the problem is that we could say it was true that this wasn't your first incarnation on Earth, but as you raise your frequency and become more multidimensional, an aspect of it is that your unique frequency sort of connects into more of your soul group. And this means that, well, other experiences from other lifetimes that are adjacent to you in frequency are sort of beginning to connect to you. So it is true that you are sort of foreign to these vibrations down here, but we do sense that there is, for instance, life as a game hunter. It's the kind of person who works for a lord, like the person who goes hunting for him and then puts well, the catch or the kills or whatever into the household. So we actually sense that there's some type of you sort of connecting again to this woodland living, where you sort of, yeah, we are approximately here in the 1400s, and for some reason we are getting close to the city of Zaragoza in Spain. But it's sort of you connecting to some more lifetimes there, and it's not strictly yours, so to speak. That there's not a direct lineage, but there's a lot of resonance between you and this lifetime at this point. So we are sorry. We could say the answer is no with a but or yes with an if. So.
I think I perfectly understand that as you raise your vibration, you jump into a different parallel lifetime.
Exactly.
Line, and so as a result, your past changes as well. So I presume what you just mentioned also comes into action as well. It makes sense.
Exactly, because if you imagine that we're all merging more and more back into the divine, and the divine is infinite connection, or everything being everything at once, then exactly as you merge higher and higher into that state, more things move into connectivity with you, so to speak.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Okay, so there's one last question that Tony wrote in that I wanted to get to, because I only asked one of his before, and then the third question was about the castle of Tintingel, which you referred to with Salish earlier. So anyhow, to close here, Tony mentions, I live in Cornwall. If this dragon whips its tail and a third of the stars fall on Earth, is my location in North Cornwall one of safety, or is there another place nearby where I can be safe?
We can say it is one of safety, but, well, the vessel here was reading Rumi the other day, and there the poet relays this story about God speaking to Astral, the angel of death, and then he says, well, go down to this man in Iran and just briefly be present with him and put a scare into him. And so the angel of death goes there, and then the man runs off to India, scared of death, off to South India. And then the angel of death asks God, but why did you send me there? Because you have told me to find him in South India. And the point, of course, here is that you cannot escape your fate. So the idea is, when it's your time to be really touched by the angel of death, it will find you, and then it doesn't really matter where you are. but that was the grim message, because you of course also have somewhat free will about when you check out, but this is something that you, the limited of you, have no control over. So it's often better to just rely that when your time is up, it will be out. You are in a very safe space. You are not in a space where there is concentrated conflict energy. And so you will be safe and protected here. But you will notice, as you also mentioned, the dragon. It's something that this guide has been guided to, we could say, or his guides has been guiding him to, actually bringing forward more of the reptilian energy, because it appears that it's very, very changing at this point. So the reptilian energy is sort of metamorphizing into something that's, well, separating itself into some darker layers that cannot exist on these densities, and then also brightening their vibrations to show better aspects of themselves. So that is that. Also know that the dragon might actually, well, reveal some treasures or secrets when it whips its tail, and you are safe, protected, guided, and loved.
Excellent. Thank you. So I feel like we are well-rounded and complete. So if you have any closing thoughts, go ahead, Merlin.
Yes, I would like to bring forward an incantation. It's an incantation of charm or good luck. It's something to protect you. It's the type of energy I'm conferring to you, is the type of energy where you may feel that shamrocks are afoot and good things and lucky happenstances are about to find you. And so many forces, many beings, many places, many things, yet all revolve around that point of experience. That point of experience, it is swirling, and yet it is stable, much as your planet. It revolves around itself as you revolve around your center, and it revolves around the great source of energy as you revolve around the infinite, eternity, the divine. So everything is in order, and there is great love in the natural world. It holds you here, it supports you, it sustains you, and it charms you with its beautiful sights, small furry friends, healing remedies, and wonderful meals. Therefore, I, the wizard Merlin, I have enjoyed speaking with you, being with you, exchanging energies with you this day, and I send you my love. Farewell. Oh,
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Mads. Wonderful as always.
thank you guys. Thank you so much for saying so. What a funny energy. I actually liked him a lot. I hope you also enjoyed it. I feel like I feel like the trance was pretty deep today, so I'm also a little blown away by it. But it was very beautiful, and I was actually thinking about. Sorry to put you on the spot, Salish, and you don't have to answer now. But doing another one Sunday on the regular time, and if you're free, I would love you to moderate.
Okay.
You could we can just write, so you don't have to don't have to feel like you're under pressure now.
Okay, I just missed that. What did you just say? Sorry.
Oh, I was just saying that that I was planning on doing another one Sunday on the regular time with the Arcturians. I think so. So already this Sunday, and then I was just hearing if you were available, if you you wanted to moderate, or otherwise I'll ask one of our other friends if they will be joining.
I should be fine. I can moderate on Sunday.
Okay, perfect. Well, then I'll be in touch. I'll be in touch tomorrow, and let's just say next regular time this this Sunday, the Arcturians will join us for another live stream. So so if you didn't get enough channeling today, there's more to come, and I'm really looking forward to it. So bless your beautiful heart, guys, and thank you for today.
Just one more thing, Mads.
Yes.
Tony mentioned to open up a Telegram group, and maybe that would be a good idea for you to open a Telegram group, and then we can all join in. So that way, you can have sole control of the group.
Oh, that's a very good idea, and it is. I've just gotten to Copenhagen, so my agenda for this in the coming week is also to hunker down and get all of the technical stuff in order. So Telegram, I'll just note that as well, because new and more efficient systems and offers to come. So thank you for that input too, Salish, and it will make it easier to coordinate. But I will go rest up from channeling Merlin, and I thank you so much, all of you, for being here, and a special thanks to Kevin for moderating, of course. Wonderful job, man. So blessings to all of you, and enjoy whatever is left of this Wednesday.
Thank you, and blessings.